Hello, everyone, and welcome to another broadcast of Northwest Georgia Cryptics. My co-host Blake is running a little late tonight. He may be able to turn loose what he's doing and join us on the show here in a little bit. But tonight we have Mr. Zeus Platt with Western Slope Bigfoot with us again. Zeus has been getting a lot of activity out in his area. Uh, Great state of Colorado. And I brought Zeus back on to share some of the pictures that he's taken out there and give us a little info of what's going on out there in the mountain state. Zeus, go ahead, buddy, if you want to, and introduce yourself and tell the folks what's been happening.
Yeah, I'm Zeus, founder of Western Slope Bigfoot organization, and I've been doing Sasquatch research I've been researching Sasquatch for about dedicated researching for probably 15, 18 years, give or take. But I've been into Sasquatch for 30 years since I first seen I seen a family of Sasquatch when I was younger, and I've just been obsessed about them, wanting to learn more about them. And my name Western Slope Bigfoot derived because that's why I started my research organization. That's where I was born, and that's where I was from. And here the last couple of weeks, I've had some pretty good stuff going on. Been doing a lot of investigating because it finally warmed up here in the mountains, because we still got snow out here, quite a bit of snow, and it's finally warming up. It's been hitting the 48 to 54. Today was probably about 57. So I've been getting back out in the field more and checking things out. And the Sasquatch have finally moved back in. I'm sure some hang out. I don't know who would want to hang out in this kind of weather up here in the wintertime, because it is hell. So things are finally melting off. They're starting to get active. Really good window, really good time of year for some really good activity for Sasquatch in the springtime. Then it kind of levels out through the summertime, at least up here. And then come fall, it gets crazy again. There's all kinds of activity going on. And day before yesterday, went out with a guy, Jeff, from Sasquatch Investigations of the Rockies. We went up and he detected some type of energy vortex, energy field or something. It was pretty incredible. Got a good picture of a good structure. There wasn't much structure around. There was some tree breaks. Although what was really weird is I had made video. This is the second time this happened to me in 2 weeks. I made video of some tree breaks and some structures and stuff like that. We went up to that location because he uses dowsing rods. He's pretty accurate with those dowsing rods. And hey,
Mr. Barry, welcome to the show, buddy.
How's it going?
Pretty good. About yourself?
Can you hear us all right?
Candle. What's that? I was going to say burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah, you had to work late night, didn't you, Barry?
I got off a little earlier than I expected. By the time I got home, got something to eat and everything. It wasn't much earlier.
We got Mr. Zeus back on here with us again tonight. Zeus has been having a lot of activity up in Colorado. He's telling the viewers about it. Go ahead, Zeus.
Okay. So we were, like I was telling you, Jeff. He's really good with dowsing rods. He'd sit there and these dowsing rods will actually point towards a possible spot where maybe there's some Sasquatch hanging out in the woods there. But what I think, if I'm understanding right, what he does is he takes a map and he'll take those dowsing rods and those dowsing rods will point them right on a spot on the map where there's an energy signature. And so he got a really good energy signature. And this, by the way, this is Sasquatch Investigation of the Rockies. And so he called me up. We got together, went back up in here into the mountains, and walked about a mile and a half in. And he said, well, according to the map, it should be out here somewhere. He breaks out the dowsing rods. The dowsing rods indicated they pointed right towards a spot. And he said, that's about right. It should be right in here. I hope I'm correct on this. And see, when I go out on my investigations, when I'm researching Sasquatch, I take a radiation detector with me and an EMF detector. And sometimes structures, they'll throw off radiation.
Hand me a page from the other room. I'll be right back.
All right, Barry.
Sometimes my radiation detector will go off on that structure. My EMF detector doesn't go off. It seems to be always one or the other, and sometimes not at all. And so I bring with me those devices. I carry them with me when I go out in the woods. And so we went to the spot, and he found the spot. His dowsing rod is sitting there spinning like crazy. He's just sitting there holding it, sitting there spinning. And I said, you know what? He didn't know I had the device. I said, hey, man, I got the EMF detector and radiation detector in my bag. I said, let me break that out and see what kind of reading we get here, And I broke out the EMF detector, and I got video of that. And keep in mind, there's no power lines, there's no electrical equipment of any kind out there. It's just the cameras, but the type of EMF detector that I have is a small radius detector. You got to be within, less than a foot or so for that thing to really start popping off and getting some kind of activity reading. And normally I could take that, hold it up to a microwave or something, and it'll pop up to 3.88 to 4. You hold it on the panel, it'll go up to 14, 48. It goes up a lot higher, turns red, starts beeping, right?
Right.
So I took my EMF detector, I went looking around, and then all of a sudden it spiked up to 3.3 out of the blue. Then it just spiked, and then it would hit 0.19, it would spike, go away. And I'll be damned, it's spiking like crazy. It kind of excited me on my video. So if you watch a video, don't laugh too hard, because I did get kind of excited, because that was pretty that's pretty crazy. I was like,
you can count on us watching the video, Bubba.
Yeah, it was pretty cool watching an EMF detector picked up an electromagnetic field generated by the earth or something there, and then it would go away, and then it seemed to have moved to if I'm standing looking west and I'm got that out, it seemed to have moved to the right 4 foot or so, because bam, I was getting spiked up again. It was hit 172, 0.0, 40.40. It would just sit there and fluctuate. And Jeff, he was like blown away. He just said, wow, my morals just went straight through the roof right now. He said, they're so high right now. I can't believe it. He said, I'm so glad you bring us out here. I can't believe what that device is doing. He said, that validates that what's going on and what we're seeing and what kind of signature we're picking up out there in that forest. And it was an all flattened out area too. It was all flattened out, kind of a sandy type of dirt because of the rock. It's real crumbly. And it was pretty amazing getting all those readings. But what's strange is when that device picks up an electromagnetic field, if I understand that right, if it's kind of a harmful energy, like a microwave or your internet,
Mm-hmm.
the screen will turn red and it'll beep 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 beep. But it didn't do that out there. When it hit, over 3.0, when it hit over that, it just it didn't do any beeping, and it didn't light up or anything. It just showed me numbers, and the temperature went up. I want to say, if I remember right, 8 degrees or so. It went from 77, actually about 10 degrees. It went from 77 when we got there, and then within 10 minutes or so, the temperature went up to like almost 90. That was weird. That was just that's super weird. Why that area? So we investigated that. I got that on video. It's up on my YouTube now. It finally loaded up last night, and I just thought that was a really interesting video of a very high energy spike in that spot. So we left there and heading back down the trail. I spotted a really cool structure. We had to walk a ways up to it off trail. I stuck ice in there. I didn't get any reading off of that. And, well, the temperature there was back down to 75, 77. That's weird.
Wow. Now
What?
I'm very familiar with the devices that you're talking about using. We do paranormal research also, and we use those devices. Doing paranormal research. But now I've actually never incorporated those devices into Sasquatch research.
Yeah.
However, now I have over the years encountered many times where our cameras, when we're investigating Sasquatch, where our cameras will actually go crazy. I've had camera drains, man. I know, have full battery charge when you leave the house.
Yeah.
Drive 30 miles into the mountains over here, start doing research, encounter these creatures or encounter structures, or they've made structures or whatever, and have the videos out going, and all of a sudden the video equipment just completely drained. Same way with audio.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. And it's funny. I kind of skipped over the part where I said down below before we got to the energy signal, I was filming some breakoffs in a little structure there. Well, when it was all said and done, and we were done with that day, got our video, I came home. I went to upload the videos again. Again, my video was not there, and I videoed it. I've got still images off that video. As I'm videoing, I'll take a still shot. And okay, and so I've got the pictures because I took the video and I hit this. You know what I'm talking about? You hit a picture out of it, and so I've got the pictures, but the video, again, in the last 2 weeks, it's happened to me twice. And the first time I actually went back, and it was really spectacular structures. I think I sent you the pictures. And the video was gone. And I said, "Are you serious?" And so I told my wife, I said, "Well, it looks like they did it again. They didn't want me to, something happened there. They didn't want me to have that video or something. I don't know." And so I just went ahead and made the short video. It's about 15 minutes long of the energy and the one small structure. I went ahead and put that together. It's just, and some of the other, I think I sent you the other pictures of the Sasquatch I just recently got. I was
right. I'm going to start out with these pictures here, Zeus, and I'm going as I bring them up, I'll let you explain them to the folks viewing.
Okay. Oh yeah, there he is. You see him down there below that limb?
Right.
Okay. When I was out in the forest, and this was quite a ways away, it wasn't too far off the road. I want to say about 80 yards off the road. A lot of my encounters happened just off the road, and I proved it many, many times on my videos. And my camera was malfunctioning. It cut out, stopped, drain, blurry, and I was really upset about it, and I was just kind of cussing around. I was just like, man, I don't know what the hell's going on. I said, my video, it just keeps cutting out. It's real shaky. It's just a complete mess. And then when I went back and I
Hey
looked,
guys, let me welcome Blake to the show.
hey Blake, what's up?
Hey, man.
Just up
Hey
here.
buddy, how's it going?
Just jumping in for just a minute.
How's the investigation going up there tonight?
We're just babysitting pretty much.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Mr. Zeus has sent me a bunch of pictures, Blake, and he's going over the pictures with us. This is one that he took out there. It's got Sasquatch in the background of the trees there. Go ahead, Zeus, and finish explaining this one for us, bud.
But this area I know is a hot spot. I filmed Sasquatch there before. Remember that picture of that Sasquatch? It was a little blurry, but you could see it. And Blake said that he had the same kind of picture that he took of a Sasquatch. It was similar to that.
Right.
That was this area right here. But as I'm taking video of the area, like I said, my camera is completely malfunctioning. It's shutting off by itself. The quality went downhill. And as I go back, I see this guy standing in the background, and I took a series of stills off of it. And if you were to take the stills and move them one after another, you see that he puts his head down and he walks forward, and you can see he swings to the left. It shows the side of his shoulder, like I think the left side of his shoulder. And then eventually that little white log above his head, eventually he goes under that and heads off into the forest away from me.
All right, I've got one here I want to bring up of a track.
Yeah, nice little track in a marsh area.
Now were these taken in the same general area or at different places?
No, that track right there, that was a little investigation I did down near Pagosa Springs, Colorado.
Oh, okay.
And again, it's really hard to get tracks in my area. There's just no dirt unless you find a marshy spot like this, and he happens to just step through there and you get a good track. Most of the time, you just find really good impressions, not castable, but you just take a picture of them, and because it's the pine needle bedding throughout the whole forest. So it's as you walk on it, it feels like you're walking on foam or something. And then it bounces back out when you leave a step. So it's really difficult to find footprints in this area unless you're in a wet, muddy spot.
I don't got another one here I'm going to bring up, Zeus. You got this one circled.
Yeah, this is the one that we showed the last time I was on here, and this is the one I was talking about that's in the same area as the first Sasquatch picture that you showed.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, this is the same area. I filmed about 6 or 7 Sasquatch in this general area. It's a huge hot spot. And there's a lot of water and game in that area. There's a little creek just past where I'm looking at this Sasquatch. If you were to go just past the Sasquatch and head straight, it heads down the mountain, and there's a big old creek that runs down off that mountain. I think it's a spring or something.
All right, I'm going to bring another one up here of you were talking about the tracks. Now, this is a good track here.
Yeah, I think that one's a little older track. It's a little bigger than the other ones because I've actually explained to people. I think the elevation has a lot to do with like their size, because the deer, the bear, the elk, everything up here is smaller. The moose are even smaller than they would be, say in Alaska. In Alaska, they're monsters. They're big too, and I try to explain to people because a lot of people don't believe. They think that a lot of these prints are human footprints, and I'm like, I just don't see that. They got a mid-tarsal break, and why would somebody be almost at timberline with some snow on the ground in a freezing lake that's still got an ice puddle out in the middle of it, walking around barefooted? The only footprints there, and then they don't walk back into the forest. They walk back into the water, and that's what Sasquatch do. They walk into water. They traverse into the water and step up when they need to. Step back into the water. They go out of their way not to leave footprints. But like I said, because there've been people that tell me, "Oh, those are human." Like, well, you can see that mid-tarsal break on that one. Granted, they're not big, and that's another reason too. A lot of people will say, "Well, it's not Sasquatch because it's only 8 inches long." I'm like, I'm sorry, but Sasquatches aren't born 800 to 1,500 pounds. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're born. I've seen Sasquatch footprints. They were just little guys, way out in the woods, in Montana and up above Pagosa, and they're. I think they got a misconception of the size differential at each location, in each state, in each part of the United States, and Canada and Mexico, wherever you go. They're all different sizes, but one thing they got to keep in mind: the Sasquatch, they reproduce, they give birth. They're going to be little, and then they may get up to a certain size. Like up here, they're probably my height to maybe 7 foot tall, but their feet, their prints aren't big because they're just not big, but they're really wide and heavy. They're built like a short Hulk, they're huge, wide, not very tall though. My height is 7 foot.
All right, and there's another one.
Yeah, and you can see the mid-tarsal break in that one. That one too.
You can tell. You can tell. I mean, what's the depth on that track?
I'm thinking that's about 1.5 to 2 inches, if I remember right.
Okay.
My jacket, my brother stole from me.
And I weigh 175 pounds, and there's no way, even if I were barefoot out there in that soil, that I would mar up that deep.
No, and that's the thing is I weigh 250 pounds. I'm 6'3", and that print right there was about 2 inches, over 2 inches. That was about 2.5 inches, possibly even a little deeper. But and that's the thing is that mud out there isn't your typical mud like say you would have in Georgia, that it's real maybe mushy, and you step in it and you kind of sink a little bit regardless of your weight. And I'm 250 pounds, and you can see the tip of my shoe just a little bit in the corner of the picture, and you could see I'm not sinking in at all.
Right.
And that type of mud, you've got to have some serious weight if you're going to sink into that, because it's more of a kind of a sandy, rocky-ish type of mud. It's pretty interesting that they sunk that deep into that mud. And that alone proves that, man, that man had to weigh 500 pounds. You know what I mean?
Oh, most definitely.
And I've had people tell me, it's a bear track. I was like, man, it's not a bear track.
Barry, you been get anything like that around where you're at up there?
I haven't got anything quite that deep. What I was wondering, by sinking in that deep, the
Hey,
suction,
Ricky,
it'd be up around the ankle and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's any hair left in it.
I'm gonna hop off.
I looked.
Here. I'll get back on here in just a minute.
Okay, Blake.
I actually got down in that and into those prints and looked for hair, and I didn't find any. And that's another thing that makes people pretty skeptical. So, why don't you ever find any hair when you in the structures and footprints? And I'm like, well, how often do you walk through the forest and find deer hair, bear hair, wolf hair, coyote hair? I'm in the woods 80% of the time, and I really never run into hair. I've ran into some unusual hair, but that's kind of rare.
Yeah. I was just thought maybe you get lucky, some of it gets stuck in the mud, come off. But
Yeah, no, I looked and I didn't see any hair unless it was stuck in the mud where I couldn't visually see it. And of course, like I said, that mud that you're looking at isn't the same typical mud that you would have, say, more on the eastern United States. It's a really hard mud. It's not real suctiony. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
Oh yeah. In other words, it would take a creature that has got a lot of body size, a lot of mass to it, to be able to actually mar up in this type of mud.
oh yeah, definitely. And that the mud. Keep in mind too, that mud is fresh because the lake had just went down. They fill up and they go down, then they fill up and they go down. The lakes up here do that. I don't really know why, but they do.
Right. All right. I got another picture here.
Yeah, that's the same Sasquatch, the first one, and you can see his head, a little bit of shape movement within it from the first one. Like he starts to duck his head down a little to the right.
All right, and here's another one.
Yeah, and then as you can see, his head is back up, but he's closer to the log, to the tree on your probably right side, his left. And you can see distinct shoulders and a head. They pretty much don't have a neck.
Well, now, man, with your encounters of these things out there, Zeus, what type of encounters mostly do you have? Just a mundane encounter with these things, where they just come in and check you out, or have you had any type of physical encounters where these things throw rocks at you and other things?
No, they don't really throw rocks. They will. It's not that often, or sticks. It's mostly vocalizing, and it's mostly a "I'm checking you out" moment, and then I'm going to walk away. That's it. Or they'll look at you and they'll haul ass. They'll run. They'll get on all fours and take off out of view, and then they probably get up on 2 feet and really move through the forest. But it's for the most part, they're not really aggressive up here. It's mainly a "I see you, you see me" type of deal. We'll stare at each other for a minute and then we'll walk away. and then and like I said, a lot of vocal. Like if you come into an area, right away you get vocals. Boom, 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 boom. Like they're talking to each other, saying, "Hey, we got somebody here." You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, telling the other Sasquatch, yeah, they're letting them know that you're there.
A lot of whistles, tree knocks, rock clacking, a lot of mimicking other animals. They do a shitty job at it, but it's pretty close. You know, so they'll mimic turkeys.
When Blake and I were down on Altoona Lake back in 2011, when we started our extensive research in that area down there, and Blake, his dad, and I had walked about a mile and a half from the cemetery over around the lake, and a big cove comes in there off the main part of Altoona, and we walked around the cove and got over there, and as we started to leave, Blake told me to do one yell, so I did. And hey, man, just as soon as I quit the yell, this thing came back and sounded identical to me, other than you could tell that it was a lot deeper. This thing had a lot bigger chest area, I guess, than me, and you could tell that the thing was a lot deeper than what my voice was, but yet it sounded basically to the same yell that I had just given out.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And like I said, there was one video that I did up at Twin Sisters area, and I'm way back in the forest, and that day I had incredible activity. I kind of had an aggressive vocal at me, but I'm standing up there and I hear a duck, And on the video, I said, okay, I hear a duck. There's no duck up here. There is up in this area. There's duck, but not that spot. You won't find a duck in that spot. And it sounded just like a duck right directly in front of me, 40 yards or so, maybe 30 yards. You know, quack, 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 quack. And I was, okay. I've heard them try to mimic turkeys. I've heard them try to mimic cow elk. I've heard them try to mimic coyotes. I've heard it all before, but you could tell a genuine coyote from a Sasquatch trying to do it. It sounds similar, but they don't quite nail it on the head a lot of the time.
Well, I know we were over at Blue Ridge a few months back, and we actually had, right at dark, we just got through setting up camp and just had turned the video recorders on, and we heard what sounded like two owls calling to one another from separate locations. But like I told Blake, I said, dude, if that is owls, they got to weigh 800 pounds apiece because of the depthness of the call. I mean, it sounded similar to an owl call. It did, but you could tell by the depth and the deepness of the call that it was not an owl.
Yeah. They actually do that right outside my place here. I tell my neighbor, because my neighbor actually called me. She goes, "There's what sounds like an owl outside, but it's not quite an owl." And I said, "No shit." I went outside. We both stood out there in the dark, looked out at the into the forest, into the other property, and there's an owl call, but you could tell it's not an owl. That's the same thing. They try to sit there and mimic. And then that owl would call, and then right directly behind us, there's another one. And it's like you could just tell that that's not a correct owl call. It's a little deep. It's a little off from an actual owl. But they
like I told you at the start of the show, these things actually amaze me, man, at what they are capable of doing. Most people, think that, well, number one, most people that you run into don't even actually believe in Sasquatch. We were down at the camp out this past weekend, and we had a guy there that he actually, I guess, he's a retired guy. He's up in his 70s, and from the way he talks, he actually spends probably 9 months a year in the woods, turkey hunting, deer hunting, fishing, whatever. And he just came straight out and told me, he said, "Man," he said, "I'm going to tell you right now," he said, "as much time as I spend in the woods, if there was any such thing as Sasquatch out there, I would have already run into him." So I told him, I said, "Well, buddy, I'm going to tell you something. I've spent probably just as much time in the woods as you have. I had my first encounter in 1981 with these creatures. I've had a bunch of different encounters with them since then, and I know they're there. I don't have to believe in them, whatever. I know they're out there."
Well, I tell people too, if you go out looking for elk, you're going to find elk. If you go out looking for bear, you're going to find bear. If you go out looking for Sasquatch, you're going to find a Sasquatch. But what I do when I get out into the field, it's heavy in my mind. I portray Sasquatch, and I portray the fact that I'm looking for them and I want to interact with them, and it seems to work very well. Sasquatch can read your energy. They know when you're looking for them, and they know when you're not. They're at a level way over our head as far as that's concerned. And I've had a lot of people ask me, "Well, how in the hell do you get so much interaction with Sasquatch? And how come you filmed so many, and you've seen so many, and you've heard so many vocals and wood knocks and blah, 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 just about every single time I go out?" And I tell them it's my mindset. I go in there with a strong mindset, and then it never fails. I'll go in there, and I believe that they could feel that, they could read that, like, oh shit, this guy's looking for it. He wants to interact. Let's maybe interact back or something. Wood knocks and vocals and stuff. But I just go in there with a really deep mindset. And
You know, I think a lot of people in my part of the country out here, they've actually had more encounters with Sasquatch than what they would believe, and it's to the point that people really don't understand these creatures. They don't understand what they're capable of doing. They don't understand. 90% of the people hear wood knocks in the woods. They don't pay attention to it.
no,
They pass it off. Oh, it's a woodpecker. That's this. That's that. Uh, but no, you're completely right. I mean, you've got to be able to understand what these creatures actually do in order to actually interact with them.
yeah. I mean,
How do you feel about that, Burry?
Well, other than the whole mindset and everything like, because I mean, if there's one thing you can't fix for somebody, it's their mindset. You can't change somebody else's mind. But just from a purely physical standpoint, if I'm in the woods and Bigfoot's a mile to the east or the west of me, me and him are ships in the night. We'll pass each other, and probably neither one of us ever know the other one was there. So that, I know the guys just like the guy you're talking about. I've been hunting for X number of years. Like you said, they're up in their 50s, 60s, 70s. I've never seen nothing. Why ain't I never seen nothing? And like you said, if they knew what to look for, knew what to listen for, they probably have.
mhm.
They just didn't realize what they were dealing with.
Right.
But it's also a matter of just right time, right place. Like I said, the Sasquatch has got to be there before you can see it. If he's a mile down the road, you ain't going to see him.
Yep.
I mean, it can. I've always said it's better to be lucky than good sometimes. Sometimes it can be just pure dumb luck. You turn a corner in the trail, and there stands a Sasquatch in the middle of it. Whereas if you took the other fork of the trail, you never see.
Right. Well, that's just like my encounter back in '81. You know, if we hadn't been on the creek that morning trout fishing, I wouldn't have known these things existed.
Mm-hmm.
We come down the turn in the creek, and there this thing was out on sandbar.
Yeah. Which is how many roadside crossing sightings, if they'd have waited 30 seconds, the driver never sees them. They could have crossed 30 seconds before the car come along or 30 seconds after. Nobody ever sees them.
Yep.
Right. That's just like the guy last year over at Blue Ridge. He actually encountered one crossing a 4-lane highway, and he said in about 3 to 4 just long strides, this thing crossed that 4-lane highway and was going into a wood line next to it.
Yeah.
And he actually said he threw his car in reverse and backed up and turned into a gravel road that ran down behind the wood lot and got over there and waited 20, 30 minutes, he said, and the thing never did come out of the woods.
Yeah. Which that opens up a whole nother can of worms. When we do see them, regardless if you're in the woods or fishing or driving down the road at night, is it because they let you see them? I mean, they wanted to be seen?
I think sometimes that's true, and I think sometimes not. I've got a video of a Sasquatch. He popped his head up and over a log, and I snuck up on him. If I wouldn't have opened my big mouth, I could have got a lot closer. When I slowed down the video and looked back at it, it appeared to be about 3 of them behind that log. But the one Sasquatch, I was just looking through a corridor. I went up into some structures, and there was this X with a stick laying in the middle of it. Got behind that. I seen something dark back there. I zoom in on stuff, dark stuff like that, to see what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I zoomed in, and there's a log. There's a log coming down in between the trees, and then there's a dark spot. And if I wouldn't have opened my mouth, I could have walked up on him a lot closer than I did. And I zoomed in, and I said, well, shit, it's just a rock. As soon as I said that, he popped his head up, looked at me, hauled ass. He looked like a goddamn silverback gorilla.
I agree. A lot of it comes down to they make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where a lot of your pictures, trail cam pictures, any kind of video or pictures, actual where you catch them on film, they messed up.
And
they
you know
stepped
why?
in front of a camera, or
And do you know why I think he messed up? is because where he was at, he was a little further out than the Sasquatch on the picture that you've seen that we posted up. He was a little bit further out from that one, to the left of it, about 20 more yards, and there's that log that sits there. 100 yards behind me, there's a busy tourist road. It's the only road that goes up through those mountains, and a lot of people pull off into this little parking lot, and there's a lookout area that comes around, and a lot of people go out, and I think his deal was he hears so much people talking 100 yards away, in that area, because he's not far off the road. I film Sasquatch almost every time I go up there, and I'm very anxious for the snow to melt and to get back up in there. There's new structures in there. I made a bypass last week, and I think that's what was his mistake. He was used to hearing human footsteps, human vocals. So I got up on him, and if I went and he just noticed when I said, "Well, shit, it's just a rock," he noticed it was closer. It was a lot closer than normal. So he took a glance and seen my ass standing right there. Then he freaking booked it out of there, They're crashing through the trees.
Well, I think just like any other animal, they can get accustomed, I guess would be the word, to humans.
Yeah.
And like you said, they don't pay as much attention to us. Just like a deer or anything else. If a deer is used to be around, having humans around, you can almost walk up and pet them.
Yeah, that goes on around here. You can actually feed them right out of your hand, right here in town. Yeah. The elk and everything. They're just used to humans. They don't care about humans.
Now, having said that, I'm not encouraging people to walk up and pet wild animals, because we've all seen the video of the idiot and the buffalo up around Yellowstone about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that's anybody that walks up and tries to pet a buffalo is an idiot.
That is the downright truth.
I'm sorry if I hurt somebody's feelings, but that's about 2.5 tons of ornery standing there. And you're going to walk up and try to pet it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, boys. I've come down through the flats in Yellowstone Park. I've seen 1,000 of those things gathered up in the park down there. I've seen them, 2 big bulls one morning right at daylight, fighting over a cow. And dude, these things, I'm telling you what, it's awesome to stand and watch the buffalo out there, as they're kind of like bulls. They'll actually get a run and go at one another and butt heads.
Yeah.
And dude, when they clash, it sounds like thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that can do that, I am not going to walk up to it and try to feed it out of my hand. No.
Well, it's not just buffalo. The other video everybody's seen is the guy that decided to film the baby mountain lion. And where baby mountain lion's at, mama's not too far away. And that mama mountain lion backed him probably 1/4 mile down a trail. And he's not even got enough self-preservation to put the camera down and put some pep in your step and get away from her. Now, he had the right idea. He backed up. He didn't turn his back on her.
Yeah.
But I've been backing up a whole lot quicker when that mama mountain lion walked out that tree.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would have put the camera down.
Did you guys see the video about the lady, the young girl, probably 25? There's a grizzly bear. I don't know where it was at. I just watched the video and I thought, why would you do that? But she's etching to the side, getting closer, and this grizzly bear's sitting there looking at her. His top of his head probably about breast high to her, and he's looking at her like this, and she's eking towards it, and she's like, kind of cuddled up like this, and she ekes towards it. She got about like 2 foot away, and then she's looking at the camera and smiles, and she went to reach her hand out, and that bear lunged at her, damn near got her. It's like, what in your world would want you to do that?
I don't understand. Like I said, no self-preservation instinct whatsoever.
No.
No, it's like that's like the guy here a few years back. They called him the, I think, King of Grizzlies or something. He he was actually interacting with grizzly up in the Klondike area up in Alaska, and one morning, lo and behold, the grizzlies ate him.
Yeah.
You know, so what? And everybody
The
was so
best
shocked.
example was Siegfried and Roy. You can mess with a Bengal tiger for 40 years. The Bengal tiger's only going to mess with you once.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And just that particular day, that audience freaked that tiger out, and that was all she wrote. I mean, it probably thought it was protecting him from the audience, and that tiger had been out in front of audiences, like I said, for 40 years or whatever. And just that particular day, something freaked it out. And that was the end of the story for him. Man worked with tigers all his life at his magic show. And one bad day is all it took.
Yep.
That's why I tell you, do not mess with Mother Nature.
No, that's the reason I tell everybody at the end of the shows when I sign off, you know, if you're out there, I don't care who it is, and I've been doing this for over 40 years. When you're dealing with Sasquatch, you don't know what their mindset is.
No.
You don't know. And a lot of people, you know, I've had a lot of people tell me, guys, that oh man, we've had wonderful encounters with Sasquatch. We've seen them. We've interacted with them. I feed them off my back porch every day. That may be true, but one of these days, that sucker's gonna come on that back porch and get you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially if you quit feeding it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the quickest way I know of piss one off.
Any animal can turn on you. I mean, everybody's heard stories, you know, with a family dog for 15 years, and then one day it turns on its owner. And it ain't a vicious dog, just for whatever reason, it happens. Well, Sasquatch is just like any other animal. Like you said, they wake up with a toothache or something, and you just mess with them, wrong time, wrong place. Bigfoot ain't in the mood for none of your crap.
It's kind of like my ex-wife. I was with her for a while, and she just turned on me one day, and that was it.
People do it too, yeah. Like I said, nothing's worse than messing with me in the morning before I've had that first Mountain Dew and that first cigarette. Do not bother me.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person either.
Well, like I said, once I get that first shot of nicotine and caffeine, I'm all right. Before that, just stay out of my face.
Yeah, well, boys, I had to give caffeine up years ago. Yeah, I messed around here a couple of weeks ago, slipped around and started drinking regular Cokes again. Yeah, well, Mother Nature told me, I went back into AFib. I've been in AFib for 2 weeks, so.
Wow.
Well, I posted on Facebook, I lost 15 pounds somehow. Don't ask me when, where, or how, but I lost 15 pounds.
I think I gained about 10 pounds over the winter.
Well,
I have no idea how.
Wintertime, I get up to around 175. Summertime, I lose back down to about 160. I was
up to about 248, and I'm down to about 231, 232. And I'm only 5'7", so I've got no business weighing 232. But
yeah, I usually weigh about 240, and this winter, you just can't get out and do anything. You can hardly get out to even work. The winters up here are horrific. And I gained about 10 pounds. I weigh about 250, 251. But then again, I'm 6'3", almost 6'4".
Yeah, you're almost a foot taller than me and only outweigh me by a few pounds. I'm kind of like Sasquatch. I'm short, almost as wide and thick as I am tall, and barely got a neck. One of my coworkers was joking either yesterday or today. She said, "I'd punch you in the throat if I could find it."
Oh, Lord.
Kind of have to do one of these numbers.
Yeah. Just hit me in the mouth. It'll have the same effect.
Zeus, I was noticing, bud, you sent some real good pictures here of structures.
Ah, that was a week and a half ago. Okay, remember how we were talking about how Sasquatch manipulate your equipment, right?
Right.
That picture was taken off of a video I was taking that day of those two structures. And I'm sitting there videoing, and my wife said, "Well, you sure you were videoing?" And I said, "How did I get the pictures?" And I took a series of probably 3 pictures off the video because I'm thinking, "Wow, these are badass." And you can always tell man-made from Sasquatch, although humans up here don't go out of their way to build anything like that anyway, and that far back in the water. There's always water there, and I want to mention too. A year ago, that water was there, and those structures weren't there. But anyway, so I'm filming. I take a couple of still images, and I get home to upload my video for the day. Upload it on YouTube so everybody could see what I find and all the evidence and stuff. And the video is not on my phone again. And it's completely gone. And I'm like, okay, well, how the hell did I get these pictures then? So I didn't, I just uploaded the video of what I already had for that day. And I told my wife, I said, I'll be a son of a bitch. A Sasquatch is going to keep me from getting video of that location. So we're going back tomorrow. And I went back the next day and I made a little video of those structures and uploaded it to YouTube. This time the video didn't disappear.
Well, that's like I was saying earlier. Blake and I have set cameras up, and we've actually know that before we leave the house, have them fully charged, go to the location, get the thing set up, maybe run 5 minutes, and the video drains dead.
Yep.
Or the battery does. So what causes that?
Yeah.
It's got to be some type of electrical impulse that the Sasquatch can send out to fool with these batteries. Not only on your video, but also on the audio. I've had it happen on audio, all kind of things.
Another thing, too, I want to point out, I forgot to mention on the show, my cell phone will do the same thing, too. I have my cell phone in my pocket, fully charged, and I get back into these structures like this, or maybe there's a vocal from a Sasquatch or knocks, anything to do Sasquatch related, and I'll pull out my phone and it's dead. And I'm like, okay, how did that happen? It was charged 2 hours ago, full. And then a lot of the times my battery won't fail, but 98% of the time I do not have cell phone service out here in these areas. And as soon as I take my phone and I'll walk into, like, if I was to walk underneath that structure, suddenly I got 3 bars and I get Facebook notifications and all this shit comes in, and I'm just like, okay, I just got signal. That's freaking weird. And that's happened many times. Whenever I get around a structure and I get close to it, boom, I got 3 bars. And then I move out of the structure, I got no signal anymore.
You got nothing.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
amazing.
tell you what, I'm reading the perfect book, if I ever get to finish it, to talk about the energy. Ron Moorhead, The Quantum Bigfoot. And he talks about a lot of what we're talking about right here, energies and frequencies and all this stuff.
Well, I'll be damned. I'm going to have to check that out.
I've only read the first 20 pages or so far, but it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
What's his outlook on this?
That's, I don't know, 10 steps to the right to take another picture of the same structures. The first picture, I was to the left, I got a shot of them, and then I stepped, 10 steps, maybe 15 to the right, and take another shot of them. And these structures are also, if I were to get into that water and stand underneath that structure, being 6'3", I got headroom under there. So
Okay, then tell and guys, tell me now who in the right mind, what human being is going to get out and wade out into that cold water just to build these structures? And you're saying what, they're a couple of miles back in the woods?
Oh yeah, these structures right here, I want to say 8 to 11 miles, give or take.
Okay, back out from nowhere.
Yeah, not to mention the little walk you got to do to get there from your truck. And the thing that I point out to people too, this is the same thing. This was kind of a walk back into the woods. This one was a little further out drive, 13 miles maybe. And the thing I would tell people, like with the teepee structures, you can always tell if a human did it. A human doesn't have a wide bottom. They tighten their bottoms up to get a better lean, and they just lean those little sticks up. They don't use logs really, unless maybe a couple of them, and they're real nice up on top. Versus Sasquatch, they're real wide on the bottom, and on top they're all woven in and just woven in and stuck up in there. Like you can see, these are all woven in on top, and
Right.
then they put sticks to the side, smaller ones, and they may even put an X on the side or in the middle of it, and they'll lay sticks to the side, just wedge it on there, and kind of weave everything into place.
Well, I always ask the same question, Ricky, when people try to say, well, that's human made or it's a hoax, or why? Why would anybody, like you said, hike miles out into the middle of nowhere, make this elaborate structure that somebody may or may not ever find?
Yeah.
Just to what? To prank Bigfoot researchers? Well, I mean, if you got that much free time on your hands and nothing better to do with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, if they got that much time on their hands, they want to do something, be constructive, send them down here. I'll put them to work on my house.
Yeah, we need we need help up at work. I'll give them an application.
So that last structure before this one, if you see the doorway in that, right? This is typical
Right.
Sasquatch stuff. I've seen this many times. I walked halfway up a mountain to get to this, probably 1.25 miles.
Now, real quick, it might just be me where I come at things from a Christian standpoint. Before I even noticed the doorway, I noticed the big cross right in the very front. There's almost a
That's in the
perfect
inside.
cross there. What's
Yeah,
that?
That's in the inside. The inside of that was massive. I stood up comfortably in there, and I walked around in there, and I actually made a video of it. And that little cross thing that you're looking at in the
Well, the
background,
one I'm looking at is not little. It's like the size of the structure. Right in the very front. If you look at the
Oh, yeah,
little
yeah, I see.
oh, okay,
live tree there,
okay.
Yeah.
and look, it'd be to my left. I guess it'd be your all's left. I mean, right there, and I mean, it's almost symmetric.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
almost a perfect cross,
Yeah.
if not
Um,
perfect. I mean, that caught my eye like that as soon as you popped it up there.
Yeah. If you look through the doorway to the back, you see a little cross, or not cross, but X. And that's what they do. They integrate a little X. And that's a good 9 foot back from the doorway going back into that structure. It's from the doorway back to that little X. I don't know if you see it in the background in that doorway.
Yeah.
And in this structure here, there's a giant ponderosa pine that's busted off about halfway up, tangled down to the right, and all that these logs and stuff have been stacked up to make the structure. And one thing I want to point out too, because when I went into the structure from the doorway that you see there, when I walked up to this thing, I was really skittish because I could see, holy shit, it's hollow. And I yelled at it a couple of times. You can actually hear it on the video, just to make sure that there wasn't anything in there. So I go into the door, and to the left is like a little cove. I mean, I can get in there and I could sit down comfortably with a 30 rack and just sit there and chill and drink beers. And I could stand straight up, and there's a window, a little almost circular type window. And if I look out that, I'm looking up the backside of the mountain. And then if I turn around and go back into the hallway, the first part, walk into the living room, standing up, they got it constructed to where there's a big view, a half circle view, to where if they're standing there, they can look out to the bottom of the meadow down below and all that area. And to the right, if you walk to the right a couple of feet, there's another opening right there to where they can look to the right of the mountainside. Do you see what I'm saying? How it was strategic?
So basically, they constructed this thing where they can have a circular view of the area.
Exactly.
A 360 panoramic.
Right. Could this actually, Zeus? Now let me ask you this, buddy. Could this have actually been what they refer to as a birthing chamber?
It very well may be, because it's a really well built. I think if you were to take and hit that thing with a car, I don't think it would do a hell of a lot of damage to it, because it's built and woven in so tight. And it would make sense, because if they're sitting in there, it might be a birthing chamber, and there's others standing at those strategic spots, looking out, making sure nothing is coming up on them.
Well, that's something I was going to ask you, talking about how it was woven and everything. I'm still stuck on the cross. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I actually can see that.
What is holding the horizontal piece in place?
Those are just a couple of little limbs that are coming off the logs that are laying up straight. So there's been that one log that you're talking about that makes the cross, and it makes like the top of the doorway, and then above that there's more woven in sticks and stuff to construct it the rest of the way, so you can't see into it, and you really can't see into it if you're on the back side of it or something. And I want to point out, they took in this area, there's clear cut piles that the Forest Service had done, I'll bet 40 years ago. And the Forest Service, when they do clear cut, they'll go way back into the mountains, because they're trying to control fire and shit like that,
Right.
So they'll take and cut these logs up into little 2-foot pieces. They chop them up into little pieces, and they pile little domes. Sometimes they're big domes, sometimes they're 8 foot tall, but they're these little domes, and they're clearly man-made. They're just clear piles, that's been cut. There's clear cut piles that are about 2 foot high around this structure, and whatever built that structure took a few of those logs that's been cut by man and integrated it into that structure. So right behind me, from where I'm taking this picture, is a clear cut pile, and it looked like some of that stuff had made it into this structure. And a lot of people have seen this, and a lot of people go, this and some other pictures I have of it, they say, why is there's cut logs in it? That's not Sasquatch. And I said, it doesn't matter if it's cut wood. The Forest Service was in there 40 years ago, did clear cut, and the clear cut piles, yeah, there's cut logs. They don't care. They're going to use that log, whether it's been cut by a man or it's been cut by, whatever. And they integrated into their structure. I said, just because it was cut by a man doesn't mean it wasn't built by Sasquatch. And I, for damn sure, don't know anybody that would go in and make a structure like that can fit 4 guys my size comfortably. Just sit in there, and you could build a little campfire in the middle of that thing and drink beers and talk shit all night long.
Well, now let me ask you this. From what I'm seeing here through the doorway, as far as the floor of this thing, were they actually tree branches broken and woven in on the floor of this thing, or is that just mouse or whatever?
What you're seeing probably on the bottom, there's some, I would assume, bedding of like pine tree branches with just the needles on it that's been laid down on the floor.
Right.
And some of that's in there, and there's just some regular twigs in there, and there's a log that's been cut by a man that's laying upright to the left, and there was one fairly good-sized branch that was sitting right in the middle of the living room of that structure.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Let me
it's
get to some
incredible.
of these others here.
Sure. The half teepees. Yes, the half teepees. This was about a 50, 60, what was it, about 60 miles, huh? About 60 miles away. Nederland? Yeah, it was about 60 miles away, and it's probably about a 300 yard walk in there, I would say, something like that. And there was two of these structures that were really cool that were right next to each other.
When I talk to other researchers and they feel that Sasquatch actually uses these type structures uh, as places to hide and wait on game to come through.
Oh,
Now,
yeah, I've
Blind
actually,
blinds.
yeah,
yeah, kind of like we use blinds. Yeah,
I've actually claimed that too, and I figured, see, Sasquatch don't only hide from humans. There's other things out there that I won't go into right now that we probably know about that's out there. I think they use this also, like you were saying, that like those other guys were saying too, as hunting blinds and lookout blinds. Because if you're in the forest, you're going to see these laid out trees, but you're not going to see him sitting in there unless you really paid attention.
right.
And if a deer comes walking up, that blind right there is enough to break him up, his image up, to where if the buck or deer walks close enough, he could reach right out and grab it. Which I think they use infrasound to paralyze their prey a little bit, kind of like a tiger.
Well, it makes
Right.
sense because I don't really see any other function they would serve because they're not solid enough to protect you from the elements. I mean, there's
No.
gaps in it.
Yep. And I say too, a lot of these, like your X's and your bends. I think the bends, what I've noticed, they point towards water every time. All the ones
9
that
times out of 10, from what I've noticed, yeah.
it points right towards water. And X's, I speculated two things. It's either family size, stay out of my area. And another thing I've noticed, the ley lines of the earth, those X's seem to be lined right up over these ley lines. When you look at a map of these suspected ley lines, and you GPS a spot where that X is, whether it be here and then 50 miles away, there's another X, and in between that, whatever, and it seems to be lined up and pointed right at ley lines. So there's a couple of theories there. Nobody really knows unless you were to, say, "Hey, Sasquatch, what do you do this for, man?" So we only have these theories, and I think some of them are pretty close.
Okay, let me ask you this: Could it be basically an energy line?
Yeah, that's what I was saying with the ley lines of the earth.
Marking an energy line.
Yeah,
I was going to say, my limited understanding of a ley line, I think they're supposed to be quasi mystical energy, but they're an energy line.
Right.
Yeah, these energy lines that run through the earth, and the X's. It seems like most of them are lined right up with those lines because the lines will pass and cross in different ways, and it seems like those X's are laying right there. And then there's others, and there's a possibility that X could mean a territorial boundary.
Okay, now here's another one.
It makes a small X at the top.
Right.
Another double X towards the bottom, and it's got that one log. They always have one log that comes way out from the structure, And usually when they have a one log that comes out from the structure, it touches another log, that log touches another log, and it runs on like that, touches other structures, and it seems to do that. I think it has something to do with energy or something, and who knows, maybe they get the energy and they sit in these things and they become completely clothed. Who knows?
Well, I was just sitting there looking at it, and one of those random tidbits of trivia information that gets stuck in my head somehow. The pyramid or teepee or triangle is the most powerful geometric shape in architecture.
Yeah.
That's why the pyramids are built like pyramids.
Yes.
The triangle is the strongest shape in geometry. And lo and behold, 9 out of 10 of your structures you see like this are triangle or close to a triangle in shape.
Yep. Exactly. And sometimes you run into different style teepees too. It seems like in different areas they're changed just a little bit. Like some teepees have a log that runs over the top. Yeah, see, this is the one the big one and the small one from the side, and they're kind of right next to each other.
Well, Zeus, my friend, you have found you are in a Sasquatch hotspot out there, buddy.
Yeah, I usually always am. I usually find them. And there's the lake. That's about 300 yards away. And this area sits about 9,500 feet. I want to say maybe 98 in elevation, 9,800 feet or so. It's pretty high up there.
Hey, I just want to know if there's any fish in that thing.
Oh yeah.
Ricky's as bad as me.
Hey, I'm bringing my reel and rod, Zeus, when we come out there in July.
Oh yeah, man. I've got like 16 rods ready to go, man.
Hey, man, we can count on it. You're gonna take me fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm a delivery driver, I could be going down the road and see a mud puddle in the middle of nowhere in a field. And the first thought that goes through my mind, any fish in that?
Yeah, that's the way I am, Burry.
Yeah, me too.
That's it.
Shit, I told my wife, I said, damn, when the fishing's bad, we just might as well throw a kiddie pool out front here and just toss the line.
Now, here's one of the classic X's.
Yep, I find tons of these guys. And again, I think there's a couple of speculations, an energy signature on the Earth that they follow. Family size, because sometimes I'll find these X's, I'll find 3 of them right next to each other, maybe even 5. I found up to 7 of them right next to each other. And I found these X's so big, you could put a small house underneath the bottom part where my logo is in that section. You could put a small house right there. These X's have been massive that I found.
Wow.
And I think it has something to do with family size or something. And there's a star structure. That's what researchers call them, are star structures.
Or an asterisk.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. I didn't know what to make of that. I don't find very many of those. But
I'll tell you who would love that. It's Hal Lane. Ricky might know him. He's from Georgia, too.
Does he have a speculation of what those might be?
I've never really heard him say anything about what they might be, but he's just fascinated with the asterisks or star signet shapes. He's always posting pictures of them found in different locations and stuff.
Yeah, those are,
right.
In my opinion, those are.
Hey, guys, carry on. I got to get this right quick.
Okay. In my opinion, because as much as I go out in the woods and I try to document all the evidence of Sasquatch, I don't run into these that often at all. Rare, and it's almost as rare as the tree that's stuffed in the ground with the root ball sticking straight up into the sky. That's extraordinarily rare. And one day I would love to know, out of all the structures, what that means, the tree upside down and the star structures.
Now, to me, just pure instinct, when I look at it, the upside down tree is a more of a stay out warning than the X.
Mm-hmm.
Just the pure aggressive power it takes to rip a tree, root ball it all out of the ground, then shove it back upside down.
Yeah.
Hard enough for it to stay there.
I feel,
That to me is telling me to stay out. I've never found one, but just when I see a picture of it, they just scream stay out to me.
exactly. When you see one, you get a real aggressive feeling, a really aggressive warning when you see that type of structure with a tree
Yeah.
stuck in the ground like that. That's what I get, the same vibe. I get the vibe that you stay the hell out or
Yeah.
you're going to get it.
Well, like I said, even for a Sasquatch, I've got to imagine ripping a full grown tree out of the ground, root ball and all, and then shoving it back upside down is not an easy task, even for a Sasquatch. That takes
No,
quite a bit of effort.
yeah. I mean, a lot of those trees, when they're shoved up into the ground like that and the root ball's upwards, it's a good, 2 foot into the ground, depending
Yeah.
on the size of the tree.
And
Just
the only other natural force I can think of that could do that is a tornado.
or
Off
the
top
Hulk,
of my head.
or the Hulk. But it's really pretty amazing how they just they and it doesn't look it doesn't look like the ground was dug out first like we would
No,
do, put it in, cover the ground up. It doesn't look like that. It looks like it's straight up.
been shoved into the ground. Yeah,
Exactly.
drove into it.
Yep, exactly. But
And
these,
as far as the Asterix, I found one that looked like it was about halfway started, and it was just never finished. I kept going back, checking it, and for whatever reason, they just never finished it.
yeah, it's very strange. You know, I've run into stuff like that before. It looked like they started a project. They were starting to do something, maybe a teepee type structure or something, and then it's like they stopped in the middle of it, and that's it. They never been back,
Yeah, who
or
knows?
they never cared to actually continue building on it. And you see the logs on the ground where they hauled the logs into the ground and they're laying on the ground to go up on it, and the teepee looks half built.
Yeah. But as impressive as some of the large things they do, like the upside down trees and some of the bends and some of these stars, some of the subtle stuff they do, the small stuff,
Little rocks,
that little rocks and little X's. I haven't found
little,
very many X's, but one I found only come up to about my waist. And like I said, I'm only 5'7", so it was probably only 2 foot tall or so.
mhm.
But I mean, it was a perfect X made out of 2 little black logs, about half rotted. Both of them been stuck in the ground. I mean, it was almost perfectly symmetrical, right in the middle of a clearing, just sitting there,
Yeah.
like it had been left specifically for me to stumble on. Because if I walk 100 yards to the left or right of it, I probably never see it.
Yeah.
Well, now, guys, a lot of the researchers that I talked to feel that the X's are territorial markers. What y'all's feeling on that?
Well, that's what we was just talking about.
Oh, okay.
I was saying I get a more of a stay out vibe from the trees being turned upside down and shoved back in the ground.
Oh, yeah, and I found them. Boys, I've actually found them out here, and especially over on Blue Ridge area, where they've actually uprooted trees that are 2 to 3 foot in diameter, uprooted these things, have the root ball in the air and the other part of the tree stuck down in the ground.
That's what we were talking about. I've never found it personally on my property, but as far as when I see a picture of that, it just screams stay out to me.
Now, near those 2 teepees. Now that we're talking about this, those 2 teepees that you posted up, to the south of that, 200 yards, I ran into what looks like a small tree. And Rick, I don't know if I sent you the picture of that or not. It looks like a small tree, and it was upside down, stuck into the ground, probably a good 6 inches. And the base of that tree was up in the air, and it had all the limbs coming off of it. Looked like an upside down Christmas tree with no needles on it. And the base of it was probably 13, 15 inches round, give or take.
Right, that's what I say. We found them over on the Blue Ridge that is actually this big around, maybe bigger. And these things actually turned upside down with the root ball still attached and them shoved down in the ground. And them
Yeah.
5, 6, 8 foot tall.
I'm going to try to draw a quick illustration of something I found one time and get your all's thoughts on it. Let me find an ink pen.
I got a picture of that tree that's upside down on my phone. I don't know if the camera can pick it up so people can see it, because I don't think I sent it to you, Rick.
No, I don't think you did.
But whenever you get this picture down, I can hold this picture up off my phone and kind of show you what I'm talking about. It's pretty cool.
I'm watching. I'm just trying to.
I'd hold it up there, Zeus, if we can see it.
Can you guys see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay,
I can't. I'm still looking at those structures in the water.
Wow.
See, there's the bottom, and it goes
Okay, hang
down.
on, Barry.
There we go.
There we go.
Can you see that? There's
Yeah.
the
yeah.
bottom of it, and it's stuck into the ground, and it goes down to the ground, down there on the bottom, and it's completely stuck in the ground, sitting upside down, and there's the bottom of it. Pretty good size, 10 inches, 15 inches round.
Well, now, Zeus, we've actually found them that way, but the root ball still be attached to the top of the tree.
Yeah, this one looks like it was snapped. And that was 200 yards south of that teepee. And that, okay, I neglected to say it. I had a video of, it was part of the teepee video, and that was in it. And that's part of the video I believe I lost. But then I went back and recorded just the teepees, and I forgot about the other one 200 yards away. But I got a picture of it off the video.
Man, it amazes me what these creatures are actually capable of.
Well, I made a quick little illustration here of what I found. I don't know how well it's going to pick this up. Paper might be too bright. Can y'all see that at all?
Raise it up just a little.
Go to your right. Oh.
Right there, yeah.
Okay.
And what that is, if you can imagine this bottom as a trail. The one line there, and then it forked into 3 trails.
Okay.
And at the end of each fork was like a blind where the trail had been blocked by the blind. And then above each blind, stretched between the branches of 2 trees, was a good sized log that it wouldn't take much to knock down. As I walked up on this, I called it either the murder blind or the murder chute, because there was one way in and no way out. All 3 ways out were blocked. The only way you could do is turn around and go back the way you come. And if you try to push your way through this, those 3 logs over the top, over each one, over each trail, like I said, it wouldn't have took much to bring them crashing down on top of you.
Wow.
So I could just imagine one of these chasing a deer. It runs into this clearing. It's got 3 choices in front of it. And either way it goes, either another one of these things is sitting there in that blind waiting on it, or they just chase it through and these logs clunk right in the head. And that's one of the more aggressive looking things I'd ever seen. And I come back a couple hours later with an axe and tore it down. I mean, it just gave me it made my, I was standing there and I was like, I need to be anywhere but here.
I hate to get those feelings.
Yeah. And I didn't feel much better even when I come back with the axe in my hand and knocked it down. Because the whole time I'm tearing it down, I was like, This is liable to piss them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always careful about that because I feel like if I knock something off of a structure, because when you were talking about little X's, I found little tiny teepees that were 2 foot tall, different stuff like that, and I'm real careful around it because it's like, God forbid, if I knock one of those out, lights out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of thought about it after I did it. I was like, I hope I just didn't start something I can't finish. But
So I wanted to tell you guys something. You guys ever watch that Expedition Bigfoot?
I watched the first season. I didn't get to see much of the second one.
Well, I like to watch. I don't watch the BFROs. I don't watch those guys. Expedition Bigfoot's pretty cool because they got some really good equipment and they catch some pretty good stuff. And like I said, I like to go through and watch all kinds of researchers, like Brain and Bigfoot, and Rick. I go back. I watch your shows that you've done with other people. So I was watching this episode right where they pull up. And this was really interesting. This tells you that the government knows, and maybe even harboring Sasquatches. But he pulls up and he's getting gassed. This wasn't part of the show. The main guy was sitting there. He was talking. They was driving. They pulled the gas station, and the one guy, a customer on the other side of the pump, a fella recognized him. Said, "Hey, you're that guy off Expedition Bigfoot." And he's like, "Hey, I got something to tell you." And he said, up in Washington. And he's ex-military. The higher-ranking military guys that do the drills and what are those guys called? Like generals or something, or lieutenant or something.
Oh yeah, colonels, lieutenants, whatever.
Colonel.
Yeah.
And so they take
Officers.
Yeah. So they take the military. They take their men. They go up into the woods of different locations all over, so they could get because of the different terrain. And he said, while they were out there in the state of Washington, the officer told his group they're doing some drills out there, training exercises out in those woods, and he goes, "One thing I'm going to tell you guys, you're going to encounter something out here as we know as Sasquatch." He's like, "Absolutely, do not engage. It did not end well in the past. Do not engage if you see this creature out here." Blew my mind. I said, did that man just really say that? And he didn't even know he was being recorded on the Expedition Bigfoot. That this officer told his men on their training exercise, you guys probably know about the creature that lives in these woods called the Sasquatch. You see one, don't engage it. It does not end well.
Okay, let me tell you something that happened to one of my groups last year over on Blue Ridge WMA. They had went over and we're going to do a night expedition. They get over there and the military is in the area around Hickory Flats doing training exercises. Okay. Blake and them, and Blake was over there. Blake can tell you the whole story. They get over there. Blake and the guys that he was with set up camp, getting ready to go out on the expedition, and in pulls this Humvee with a major. Gets out of the Humvee, walks over to where they're at, introduces himself, tells them that, guys, my boys are going to be in here for about another 45 minutes. They're coming up the Appalachian Trail now. As soon as they make it up here to the cemetery, we'll be out of your hire. We're going to clear out. About 45 minutes, we'll be out of here. Well, one of the guys that was with Blake walks over and asks this major what's the strangest thing he's ever encountered while doing exercises over there in the woods. Well, the majors come back with run into a bobcat or some crazy thing. Well, the guy has a Bigfoot T-shirt on, and he holds the T-shirt up like this, and he says, "Well, I guess you know what we're doing over here." Okay, it goes from there to them going to be there 45 minutes. Sunday were 5 Humvees rolled in right on top of where Blake and them was camped at. Got out and set up camp. Had men stationed all around the old cemetery over there in the woods, and would not let Blake and them get out of camp at night. They ended up camping 25 feet from Blake and them's camp, and these army men, he said, was all over the woods all night long. And this happened in a matter of 2 minutes after the guy held his shirt up and said, well, I guess you know what we're doing over here. They locked them down, wouldn't let them do nothing.
Wow. That's amazing.
And I've got pictures of them where they took pictures of the Humvee sitting right behind them.
Yeah, they try to keep all that under wraps, you know. You see a Sasquatch, your mind, your consciousness just went up. Your reality just got shattered.
Well, Ricky's heard me say this before to him and Blake. There's two possibilities. Either the government knows about them or the government's really bad at their job.
That's exactly right.
There ain't no in between.
They know a lot. They know about a lot
They
of
have to.
Yeah.
Because like I said, if they don't know about them, then there's an 8 to 12 foot tall bipedal creature running in the woods in North America, and the government's clueless.
Oh yeah, I can tell you from my experience with the government, they're not clueless.
No.
Boys, I have a very pregnant kitty cat here. Anybody need any kittens?
I'm too far away to pick one up tonight.
I'm sure Bo Stevens would love at me bringing a kitten in.
Hey, and this one wants to bite worse than a dog. She is very pregnant and very temperamental right now. Ouch.
Bo Stevens is pretty possessive, pretty territorial. He don't like much else coming around.
That's about it. Well, guys, we're a little over an hour and a half into the show. I'm going to close her out. Zeus, thank you very much, buddy, for coming on the show, sharing your knowledge with us, sharing the photos with us. Barry, as always, man, I really appreciate you coming on and helping me out. We've had a good conversation tonight. Everybody out there, please remember to tune in and to Western Slope Bigfoot and to Praying and Squatching. Mr. Barry, Barry's got a very good channel, YouTube channel. Western Slope. Zeus, you are doing fantastic work out there. Keep it up. This is Rick Weaver with Northwest Georgia Cryptics. Me and my kitty cat, Daisy. But we're going to sign out. And as always, everybody remember, please subscribe. Hit that bell notification. We'll be notified when our shows is on. We appreciate everybody. Appreciate all the viewers that's viewed tonight. The ones that will view in the future. Thank you very much. Guys, again, thank y'all very much for being on the show.
It was really
You're
good seeing
welcome.
you guys. It was great
Anytime I
seeing
can
you
help
guys.
you.
Tell Blake I said what's up. See you
I'll do
next
it, Bruce. Guys, I really appreciate it, man. Y'all been wonderful guests. Hope to get wins in the near future. And Zeus, we will be getting back with you here the next day or two with the lady that you were telling me about. I can't wait to get her on the show.
Yeah, me either. I want to hear about this. Okay, guys. It was great.
All right,
seeing
me
you guys.
too, Barry.
Yep. Everybody have a good night. God bless you.
You too. God bless.
God bless you, man. Thank y'all.